Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. I think this is the fifth uh, Inner Sydney Voice Communities and Families learning series. My name's Marika Contellis. If I haven't met you, I'm looking around the room. There's a couple of new faces, so that's always exciting. Um, this session is about worker well-being. I begin, I know now that we've had our introductions, I do want to begin by acknowledging country. I pay respects to Aboriginal elders, past, present, and emerging. Extend a warm welcome to any Aboriginal people in the Zoom today. I know we're coming from different lands. I'm on Gadigal land today. Prior to this session, we were having a conversation about intergenerational trauma and the impact, particularly on our first Australian communities. And I do pause to recognise that that trauma and the work that many of you intersect with many Aboriginal families, children and families. We have a lot to learn from our first Australian cultures, for sure. I wanted to warmly introduce my friend and colleague of many, many years, Horatio O'Shea, who is our special guest speaker today. Horatio began tormenting me about worker well-being about 15 years ago. I kept rolling my eyes. He's saying that this is so critical. Marika, you've got to turn your attention to this whole issue of how we keep frontliners safe, particularly in the work that we do in this social care sector. He badgered me so much that I said, okay, well, let's run a program, which we did all those years ago. And he was right. Horatio has a load of experience working at the front line. He has experience influencing policymakers. He has led teams working with some of our most vulnerable communities. And today he works with government and non-government organisations, really unpicking the systems created in organisations to protect and enhance worker well-being and keep workers psychologically safe. Hori, thank you so much for your time. It's great to have you. Very warm welcome to you.
Thanks, Marika. Lovely to be here. Thank you for the warm words too of tormenting you. Absolutely was tormenting you back in the day. My name's Horatio. I was great hearing everybody talk, just introducing themselves and what well-being is. I got a bit excited hearing about this. This is my nerd topic. I'm really interested in it, and so we're going to be looking into that. And there was a theme that came out of everybody sharing and checking in this morning. It was about balance and boundary. And if we get time, I'll share with you a technique to help with some balance and boundary. And it's less about balance, more it's about balancing. It's never, ever just flat and level. It's always about balancing the work. And there's a movement in that. And so that's where we're going to try and look at some just real simple techniques and some of the thinking around this as well. So without any further ado, I've got a little PowerPoint to give you some information. So Marika's also mentioned acknowledgement. Just want to give you an overview of wellbeing. And this is the work that I've done in wellbeing. And when a lot of the founding, the main research, and in particular the work on Gallup have been doing research on wellbeing since the 40s. So they've been very much leading some of this. And when they talk about wellbeing, they talk about the five main elements. And the five main elements are our physical wellbeing, that I'm in good physical health, my financial well-being, that I have enough money to meet my needs, my social well-being, that I feel connected to others, my community well-being, that I have a sense of citizenship, that's a connection to the community, and the last one is that my career well-being, that I have meaningful employment. It's just not enough to be employed, but meaningful employment. For me, that's a little bit short. There are there is extra research out there, and the stuff that I've found is there's two main elements, and that is my spiritual well-being, and that is that I'm connected to something bigger than self. And spirituality often is tied into a sense of religion, but it's not necessarily just a religious issue. It's a connection to something bigger than self, a sense of awe. And the last one is my psychological well-being, that I feel emotionally and psychologically sound. And so for me, when I work in wellbeing and work with organizations, I look at these 7 main elements and understand how they come to what a sense of equilibrium. It's almost like the Goldilocks zone, where it's not too hard, it's not too soft. Because one of the things that when one of these is out of our Goldilocks zone, is a bit of concern, is causing a bit of stress, that takes our biggest attention. And so we've got to be aware of that. In all the research on well-being, the thing that has the biggest impact on our well-being is our career well-being, our workplace. And so it's really important. That's why you'll see a lot of work around workplace well-being and why the language is around workplace well-being. But we've got these other 6 elements there to it as well. And you can see how career well-being can impact on your social, your spiritual, your psychological, your financial, and also when we're stressed, our physical as well. When we are talking about the work in particular, just a quick little view of some of the common psychosocial hazards, because we are working in a field where there is a lot of trauma and suffering and stress in the work. But in our work, when we're talking about psychological injury and in particular workplace wellbeing, what we see like high or low job demands, excessive workloads or unrealistic deadlines. Also, not enough work as well can lead to poor, low job demands. Poor support or inadequate support. I was hearing some of that in what Whitney was saying about trust up and down the workplace system as well. Poor organizational justice. This is a main one that I see, and one that we often goes unrecognized. And this is really, really important in the work, a sense of justice in our work. Poor role clarity, not so knowing where our boundaries were. Exposure to traumatic events. From just hearing where you're working in the community, I dare say that this is one of the main things that you experience in your day-to-day. Hearing about trauma and suffering in your work. Things like vicarious trauma, direct trauma. There's another one, compassion fatigue. I'm not sure if you've heard about that one. And the big one in all of that is also burnout as well. And poor workplace relationships as well, and where we have conflicts, bullying and harassment and activity. These are some of the generic common psychosocial hazards. The most notable ones in our workplace are the 3 here: burnout, compassion fatigue, and vicarious trauma. Now, there's a lot of literature out there around it. There's a lot of conversation around there, but they are 3 distinct things. And when I work with these 3 issues, I make sure that we understand where we're coming from, because each of them needs to be managed differently. So burnout in particular, and I hear this quite a lot in the workplace, I'm burnt out. But burnout is an emotional, relational, and moral exhaustion that occurs from systematic and social distress. And this is in and around the work system. And we're going to dive into burnout a little bit because that's the most prominent one that we hear. Compassion fatigue in particular, there's a lot of... Has anyone heard of compassion fatigue before? Yeah. There's a lot of literature on compassion fatigue. Compassion fatigue in particular is the movement away from suffering. To be compassionate is to move towards suffering with an intention to alleviate, but compassion fatigue is a movement away from suffering. Vicarious trauma, on the other hand, is something different altogether. Vicarious trauma is a shift of my inner experience, so what I know to be true. So it's a shift of my inner experience because of exposure to someone else's trauma. And so my thinking, my behavior, and my actions all change.